Hey folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am happy that you're here today. We're talking about your brain today. How many people want their brain to work better? Raise your hands. Of course you want your brain to work better. We all want our brain to work better. But the problem is most people don't know that there are steps or things or actions you can do to make the brain work better. So the way the brain works is there's a bunch of neurons, they're called, and they work with chemicals. And chemicals transport information back and forth to different parts of the brain. These chemicals are called neurotransmitters. It's a big word for you today. Your word for the day, neurotransmitter. So neurotransmitters make the brain work, and different neurotransmitters do different things. So we have something called serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that makes you happy. We call it the happy hormone, okay? It's a neurotransmitter, not so much a hormone. But it's the one that makes you happy. It helps you focus. Dopamine gives you pleasure. Glutamine becomes GABA, and GABA suppresses pain. So if you have pain, your body has a natural check and balance system, and the GABA helps reduce pain and calm down the rest of the brain. About 80% of the brain is used to calm down the other 20% because your brain is so excitable. And so we need that. And then norepinephrine gives you energy, gets you excited, gets you focused, gets you motivated. So those are the four main neurotransmitters, and each one do different things. You know, dopamine not only gives you pleasure, but if you have Parkinson's disease, it's usually an issue where the dopamine isn't being utilized properly or you're not producing enough of it. So those are the four main ones. There's other ones, phenylethylamine, things like this, but let's focus on those main four. Not sure how much I'm going to get to today. I got a lot to cover. We could always do another show in the future, but I'm going to start with serotonin because serotonin is the neurotransmitter that makes you happy and helps you focus. Now, the way neurotransmitters are made is the body has to give it the raw materials to produce these neurotransmitters. So we look first at the amino acids that make the neurotransmitters. So with serotonin, you need a neurotransmitter, you need an amino acid called tryptophan. Tryptophan is broken down from proteins. And a protein, if you look at it under a microscope, looks like a ball of yarn. So if you need amino acids, you unravel this ball of yarn and chop it up into something called amino acids. Now, the amino acid named tryptophan goes into your small intestine, combines with vitamin B6, and creates a chemical called 5-HTP. 5-HTP then becomes serotonin, and in your brain, serotonin becomes melatonin, which helps you sleep. And we'll cover melatonin if we have time today. So in order to have the right amount of serotonin being produced, you have to have a good functioning digestive system. So if you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, something's wrong with the digestive system. So chances are you're not breaking down the proteins into amino acids to combine with B6 to create the neurotransmitters. So you got to have every step of the assembly line working in order for your brain to work. I've been in practice well over 38 years now. Of course, in my graduate program and everything, so well over 40 years I've been studying this. I have never, in my entire career, and I've seen thousands, maybe tens of thousands of patients. I have no idea how many patients we've seen and helped and everything. I've never had anyone with an emotional disorder not have a digestive disorder. Everyone, anxiety, depression, bipolar, ADD, ADHD, even suicidal patients, every one of them, the digestive system isn't working properly. Because when you make serotonin, only a little bit goes to your brain. Most of it is built and made and used in your digestive system. So if digestive system isn't working and you're short on serotonin, the brain gets shorted. The brain gets cut out. And so we got to fix the gut so the gut has enough serotonin to share with the brain. Does that kind of make sense? So we got to get the gut working, and that's really important for the brain to work. It cannot work if there's a digestive disorder. It cannot work properly. And so many patients have digestive disorders. The number one reason that we see patients in the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. The number one reason we see patients is pain. Neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, arm pain, sciatica, headaches. The number two reason we see patients is digestive problems. And so many patients don't think to come to a chiropractor, of course, for digestive problems, but my team of doctors, we're specialized in more than just the spine. So I'm board certified in chiropractic, orthopedics, pain management, double board certified in nutrition, got healthcare provider of the year. So we've got a really good background on not just pain, but on other approaches to health. And most of us have hit a brick wall when it comes to healthcare. I've been to doctors. They can't figure out what's wrong with me. I got a little bit better. I didn't get better at all. And they say, we don't know what else to do. That's where I want you to consider coming to us. Now, you can come to us primary too. If you have neck pain, back pain, let's get right to the source. But we always want to get to the cause of your problem. So when it comes to digestion, a lot of patients get stuck. They don't know what to do. Sometimes your stomach is pushed up against your diaphragm. We need to physically pull the stomach away from the diaphragm. Sometimes there's a valve in your colon called the ileocecal valve, and it can be stuck open or stuck closed. We can adjust for that. There's techniques, chiropractic techniques that my doctors are taught by me and other doctors on how to do this. So I want you to not just think about chiropractic as pain. I want you to think about it as overall health care for many reasons. Not all, but for many. And if the gut isn't working, you can't produce serotonin. Now, another problem I see with patients in serotonin is that they just don't get enough sunlight. Sunlight produces what's called vitamin D. So UVB rays, certain rays from the sun, interact with cholesterol in your skin, and through a series of steps create something called vitamin D. So when you surround yourself with nature, it can have a strong impact on your mind and also how your brain functions. Right behind our Marietta office, there's a huge, Life University's right there. There's a huge walking path. A stream is back there, waterfall. And it's very nice if I get a minute, even 20 minutes, I'll walk out, just go for a walk out there just to connect with nature. But it also gives me some vitamin D. The lack of vitamin D has been correlated with depression. So going outdoors, getting regular exposure to the sun can help tremendously, and that can increase your serotonin levels. Now, as winter sets in, winter's coming. As winter sets in, even if you're out in the sun for long periods of time, you're not getting enough UVB rays from the sun to create the vitamin D by interacting with cholesterol because the sun is on a different angle. So in the winter especially, I feel that most people, in fact all people, should take a vitamin D supplement because you can't get it from the sun. Now, the best thing to do is test your vitamin D. So next time you get a blood work done, have the doctor test your vitamin D levels. I like to see it between 60 and 80 nanograms per milliliter. The acceptable level is 40 nanograms per milliliter. I don't think that's enough. I think we got to get between 60 and 80 to really help fight off diseases. And so I take 5 drops of Dr. Joe's vitamin D every single day. Now, what I do is the other supplements I recommend everybody take are Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. I take a scoop of each, they're powders, mix it together, put 5 drops of vitamin D in there, shake it up and drink it. Now, you can take the vitamin D right in your mouth. It has no flavor. I just mix it all together. When you take a vitamin D supplement, which is essential in the winter, you want to make sure you also have enough vitamin K2, not K1, K2, because vitamin D3 helps you absorb calcium. Vitamin K2 drives it into the bones. If you're just taking vitamin D, vitamin D3, I'll talk about vitamin D2 in a second, vitamin D3, and you don't have enough K2, the calcium can build up in your muscles, build up in your blood vessels, and it could lead to hardening of the arteries. So it can be very dangerous. Now, vitamin D does a lot of things. One of them is absorb calcium. Helps with the immune system, helps with serotonin production. If you're eating a very good vegan plant-based diet, you might be getting enough vitamin K2 and not have to worry about it. Most people don't eat a very good diet. So when I made my vitamin D3, I also added vitamin K2 in addition to it. So when you take the 5 drops, you're getting D3 with K2. Okay? I know it's a little chemistry there. But in order for the brain to work properly, you have to have one of the things, vitamin D3. If you're not getting enough sunlight, if you're inside, even in the summer, you can get something called seasonal affective disorder. What that means is you get depressed because you're not getting enough sunlight. So every chance you get out in the sun. It's really important for serotonin production, but for a lot of other things. And that's what we're talking about today if you're just tuning in. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking about how to get the brain to work better, how to get the chemistry in the brain to work more efficiently. And you have control over a lot of this. So a lot of the brain issues or emotional issues that you're suffering can be due to the fact that you're not following certain rules. The problem is nobody ever told you the rules. And that's what we're telling you today. Physical touch is very good at making sure that serotonin levels are being produced properly. So if you're having a bad day, sometimes you say, I just need a hug. There's a lot to that. Hugging, cuddling, a supportive touch, hand-holding can help build connections with other people and influence the production of serotonin. It boosts your mood, and it also boosts your immunity. And one of the things I see with elderly people is that they just don't have enough human contact. And we see a lot of elderly people. We accept Medicare, so we see a lot of elderly people. We love working with all patients. But sometimes the patient just will come to our office and just sit in the reception area. They'll get there a half hour early, an hour earlier. And when I talk to them, and people know they can talk to me about everything, they'll say, Doc, I don't have anything to do at home. I'm just happy to sit here and watch the patients come in and out. Go ahead, I'll let people go ahead of me. It's okay, it's fine. They just want to have human contact. And many people, they had a family maybe, they had friends, they had a job, and as they get older, a lot of that drifts away. I know that feeling. My mother's gone, my father's gone, my sister's gone. So I understand what it's like. I'm the only child alive anymore in that group of Espositos. And so I understand that. Now, I have a very active social life, and I have a lot of friends and patients and lectures, and I often think, what would happen if I retired? What would I do if I retired? What would I do day to day? And one of the things I would miss out on is all the human connection that I have. And that really helps with the brain function and serotonin production. And if you hug somebody for a longer period of time, like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, it also can release a chemical called oxytocin. This isn't a show about oxytocin today, but oxytocin is the bonding neurotransmitter. And so you bond with people when you have communication with them. Now, we're social beings. We benefit from all sorts of connections. So, for instance, a supportive touch can really serve as helping your brain function more efficiently and also build your immune system. Now, of course, the issues come up is what's appropriate. So just be careful with that. You always got to get permission before you do things, of course. But the serotonin increase can reduce stress and potentially reduce a hormone called cortisol. And over time, by default, I've become a hormone expert. And cortisol is a hormone that's released when you're stressed. And too much cortisol can cause problems because you steal the raw materials that you need to produce things like testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, because cortisol becomes more important. And so we call it the cortisol steal, and you're stealing the raw materials and you can't produce those other hormones. So we want to keep those cortisol levels in checks. One way to do that is keep the serotonin levels up. I know it's a lot of chemistry and hormone stuff, but it's us. The reason we're alive is because of hormones. The nervous system controls everything. The hormones control the nervous system. So it's really important we keep that brain working the best it possibly can. A lot of studies have shown that we need to keep our body in a state of gratitude. What happens is when you think about the good things that happen in your life, it helps tremendously with the brain chemistry. So reflect on things, on people, on opportunities, how fortunate we are in our lives, how many good things we have in our lives. That impacts your well-being and your mental health, and it's likely to increase the production of serotonin, which is what we're talking about today. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter, in case you just tuned in, that helps you focus and makes you happy. And so we're talking about ways we can keep the serotonin levels balanced out and higher. Most people need higher serotonin levels. So the more regularly we practice gratitude, it's easier for our mind to identify and enjoy positive aspects. Now, I've told this story before. I had a traumatic brain injury when I was 10 years old. I was hit by a car. They thought I was dead. I was on the side of the road. I was in Germany, actually, visiting relatives. I'd never been anywhere in my life. I was on a bicycle. The guy hit me, we think, going about 40, 50 miles an hour, about 80, 90 kilometers. And they thought I was dead. They covered me up. I don't know how the guy got an ambulance. It was in the middle of nowhere. And this was way before cell phones. And severe head trauma. I was unconscious for 3 days. Severe headaches. And they wouldn't give me medication because this is before MRIs and CAT scans. So I didn't know if I was bleeding internally or not. And the reason I tell you this story is that periodically I still have reactions to this severe traumatic brain injury, and I'll get headaches on the left side of my head. And when they happen, I think, this really stinks. I don't like this. But what I do then is I flip it around and say, I'm not supposed to be here. I was dead on the side of the road, 3 days in a coma. How lucky am I to have headaches? So you flip that perception around. Now, I don't like the headaches, of course. And when I get adjusted, it helps tremendously. But it's usually my sleep patterns. I wake up with my head turned in one direction. I get a headache. I know this. I still sometimes end up that way. So instead of thinking, wow, it stinks that I have this pain, it stinks that I have this condition, how lucky am I to be able to complain about it? That's a simple little twist on gratitude, and that helps the brain increase its serotonin levels. Now, if you have pain stinks. But pain is a warning sign. Pain is telling us that there's something wrong. So if you have pain, if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, headaches, numbness, tingling, sciatica, let's try to get to the cause of the problem. Chiropractic care has saved my life because that pain was not going away, and chiropractic care has got it in check where it barely pops up anymore, but it does pop up periodically. So if you have a health issue, a pain issue specifically, why don't you come see us? In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We would love to be your doctors. Now, normally the first visit is $712. What we're doing now for my listeners, because I love you guys, the first visit is $299. Now, that's an exam, consultation, x-rays, first adjustment, going over the x-rays on a follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. The x-rays alone will cost you more than that anywhere else that I know of. So if you're serious about taking the first step about wanting to get well, go to my website, drjoe.com, all one word, drjoe.com. You can book it right online. You can call us. If you have any health questions, send it through the website. A little bot pops up, says, hey, you got a question? Send it to us. We will answer it as quickly as we can, usually within 24 hours. And we want to be your source of information. Because the problem is there's so much healthcare available, but really not sources of information. And that's what's great about the website, drjoe.com, is now you can chat one-on-one with us. So if you want to make an appointment, stop suffering. Biggest complaint I get, by far, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I start taking your advice sooner, Dr. Joe? I don't know. Do it now. Don't suffer. And bring your kids. I think every kid should have a spinal checkup, and if they're crooked, they need to be straightened out. Because if they're crooked, they grow crooked. If they're straight, they grow straight. So we want to be your doctors is the bottom line. drjoe.com. We accept people with all insurances. It depends what your coverage is, but we accept you. And if you're ever in a car accident, please listen. If you're ever in a car accident, if the car was damaged, you were damaged. I've never seen it any other way. I had a patient come in last week, and he was in an accident 6 years ago. Now, you should come see me right away. Don't waste time if the case is still active. But he said, Dr. Joe, I listened to you, and you said, I thought about that, and I was in an accident 6 years ago, and I just want to get checked to see if there was any damage. And sure enough, there was. 6 years later. Now, it's a lot harder to fix 6 years later. So as soon as you're in an accident, come see us. If you get a phone call and somebody says, hey, this is such and such from your insurance company, go see Dr. Bob and go see Attorney Smith, it's a scam. Don't do it. It's a scam. No one will ever call you if you're in a car accident to tell you to go to a doctor or a lawyer. They get your name off the police report, which is on the internet, and they scam you. Don't fall for it. If you want to make an appointment with us, we'd love to see you, drjoe.com. So think about things that are good in your life. You can even keep a journal if you want to. A trick that I try to do is as I go to bed at night, I think of 2 good things that happened that day. And no matter how bad your day is, I remember the day my mother died in my arms. I still went to bed and said, what 2 good things happened that day? So think about the good things that happen. And as you go to sleep, it seems to help the serotonin levels. If it doesn't, so what? You thought about something good. Be careful with caffeine. Caffeine, a lot of people make it an integral part of their lives. In fact, I read a study a while ago. I don't know if it's still true. Oil was the number 1 import into the country. Caffeine was number 2. I don't know if that's true or not, but isn't that amazing? The last study I read, 75% of people have caffeine every day. I can't do caffeine. It aggravates my headaches. But it's an integral part of a lot of people's lives. But I warn you against overindulgence, since caffeine withdrawal can drain your serotonin levels. Now, if you're trying to cut out coffee, in the first book that I wrote, it's called Eating Right for the Health of It. I have a chapter, and the chapter is called Kicking the Habit. If you want to cut out your coffee, it's really simple. Get a cup of black coffee, organic only. Cup of black coffee, take 1 tablespoon every hour. Next hour, take another tablespoon. over time, it's going to help wean you off the coffee. I won't give you the whole biochemistry of what happens in the brain with coffee. I don't have enough time in this show. But if you go to our website, drjoe.com, and just type in coffee, I did a whole show on coffee. It'll explain it to you. But if you're having headache withdrawals or caffeine withdrawals, it can crash your serotonin levels. So just be careful with that. And if you just take a tablespoon an hour, the longest it's ever taken me to get somebody off coffee is 4 days. If you're serious about wanting to quit. If you're not serious about wanting to quit, it's not going to work. And with coffee, please, organic only. Coffee is one of the most sprayed foods with pesticides and chemicals and herbicides and fungicides. So you're drinking high levels of toxic chemicals when you're drinking coffee. So if you do coffee, organic only. And if you can avoid it, that's even better. So the experience may temporarily boost your energy and mood, but excessive use contributes to serotonin depletion and can negatively impact your mental health and your overall well-being in the long run. And why do we do this show? We do this show to give you tips and information that you can use to naturally get well and stay well. That's my job. I want to get you in control of your own health again. Now, when you have health issues, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, car accidents, digestive issues, nutrition concerns, come see us. But I'll give you as much information as I can for you to manage as much as you can on your own. If you go to our website, we have over 3,000 hours of podcasts. So you could type in whatever topic you're looking for in the search bar. Chances are you're going to find a lot of information on what you're looking for. I've done a podcast or a video on it or something along those lines. Do me a favor, follow us on social media. My handle is at Dr. Joe Esposito, all one word together, at Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn. You can find us there. We post almost every day health tips and information, and we've gone as far as even giving away concert tickets in the past. So we want to lure you. Yes, we're trying to lure you to follow us because we give out a lot of good information. And if you have questions, you could send it to me through the website, drjoe.com. Now, if you're a podcast junkie, go to your podcast service and type in Dr. Joe for the health of it, all separate words. Dr. Joe for the health of it, and we have hundreds of hours of podcasts as well. So we have podcasts on your podcast server, Dr. Joe for the health of it. Our website, drjoe.com. Social media, at Dr. Joe Esposito. We've got so many ways to get you the information that you can naturally get well and stay well. All that information is no charge. So we'd love to be your doctors. We are putting together a masterclass. People have been bothering me for decades now to do a small group. We can do it on the internet now. Small group of people, a lot of essentially one-on-one training. We're going to do it for 8 weeks. It's coming up in the next couple of months. So if you want information on the masterclass, just send me a message through the website. Put masterclass in the word, and I'll have somebody contact you about the masterclass in the message or in the title, whatever you want. So the masterclass can be a very small elite group, and we're going to work one-on-one with as a team, and I find that works really well. Because what you'll find out if you join the masterclass is everybody's got the same problems. You're not alone in the world. And then we talk about what we can do for it on an advanced level. So, but if you want to make an appointment, see us, drjoe.com. We'd love to be your doctors. So be careful with the caffeine. And caffeine, of course, can affect your sleep. And serotonin aids with alertness. And it's a precursor, as we said, to melatonin. So serotonin becomes melatonin. Melatonin helps you sleep. Now, melatonin is a hormone released through your pineal gland, and it controls your wake-sleep cycle. If you're noticing sleep disturbances, like you wake up too early, you can't get to bed at night, it could be an issue with serotonin, which many times is an issue with melatonin, which could be an issue with your digestive system. Folks, I got to take a break. Any questions, send them to me through the website, drjoe.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. Thanks for being here. If you just stayed with us, thank you. If you're just joining us, welcome. What we're talking about today is how to make your brain work better. And specifically today, we're talking about serotonin. Now, serotonin is a chemical in your brain. It's called a neurotransmitter. And it makes the brain work, and its job is to make you happy and help you focus. It does other things too, but those are the two main jobs. So serotonin helps you enjoy life. And many times we're distracted, we can't focus. It's a serotonin issue. Because the challenge is that most of the serotonin made in your body does not go to your brain, it goes to your digestive system. And so in the battle, the digestive system gets a larger percentage of the serotonin. And if there's not a lot around, the amount that the brain gets drops. And so we need to keep the digestive system healthy, to keep the serotonin production high, so the brain gets essentially the leftovers. I mean, the brain makes its own serotonin, but the brain's going to get cheated if you're low on serotonin. And so we got to do things to keep the brain working the best it possibly can. Who wouldn't want their brain to work better? I mean, this is such an amazing topic to cover because everybody wants their brain to work better. I told this the other day when I was doing a show that there was a company, they were trying to sell this thing. It's a brain scan, and they measure your vital signs through a computer. And so the guy came in, and he did me before their treatment. And he says, well, good news is, he says, your biological age is 44. I smiled because I'm a lot older than that. And then they did this testing, scanning, screening, whatever their treatment was. And he says, well, now your brain function is 31. So I said, so my biological my age of my body is 31. He said, yeah. And I said, that's pretty cool. And he said, he's been doing this for a long time. He said, I've never seen anybody, when I told him how old I was, he said, I never saw anybody have this much, such a younger brain for how old you are. He says, this is incredible. He says, what are you doing? What do you do differently than everybody else? Because this is a normal person your age's brain, and this is a normal 44-year-old brain. You're over here in the 31-year-old category. And I said, I've been plant-based, eating well for 35 years. I've been under chiropractic care since I was 18 years old. I said I get excited every day about coming to work. And he said, Doc, I don't know what you're doing, but it's amazing. We've never seen anything like this. Keep up the good work. And I need to remember to call them and say, hey, why don't you send your clients over to us? See what kind of results you can get. So a lot of things we can do to keep our brain young. Now that I'm a 31-year-old. You want to make sure you're eating the right foods. Now, causes of low levels of serotonin can be a combination of things. It could be your body isn't producing enough of it, which could be related to vitamin, mineral, and nutrient. You're just not giving the body the raw materials that it needs. Or you're not breaking down your proteins. And we covered this earlier. Your stomach breaks down proteins and chops them up into something called amino acids. Now, the amino acid named tryptophan becomes serotonin in your brain. So if you're not breaking down your proteins properly, you're not getting enough amino acids maybe, and so you can't produce a lot of things. One of them, of course, is serotonin. So we want to make sure the brain is working the best it possibly can, and we do that by making sure the digestive system is working. So if you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, you want to come see us, because we might be able to relax and pull the stomach away from the diaphragm, get the whole digestive system to relax. And in many cases, we see amazing results. One thing is we see this all the time. Parents will bring their kids in with ADD, ADHD, and we change their diet, and we adjust their stomach. We adjust the spine, too, because the nerves in the upper back control the stomach. And time after time, patients will come in and say, well, little Johnny went back to school, and the teacher said, oh, you finally put him on, I won't say the drug brand, for attention deficit disorder because he's doing so much better in school. Obviously, you put him on these drugs. And the parents always say, no, we took him to Dr. Joe. We got his stomach fixed, got his diet straightened out. And they try explaining the whole tryptophan, serotonin connection. And every single time, either the teachers, know who we are. It's pretty famous out there. Or they say, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because we've never seen a kid respond this well. We hear this all the time with neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues. Now, we can't help everybody. So if you come in and after 2 visits, you're saying, my neck still hurts. A, you didn't give it enough time. And B, not everybody responds, but our success rate is extremely high. I'm going to guess 85, 90% success rate. So if you want to make an appointment to come see us, we'd love to see you. You can go to our website, drjoe.com, and we can set up an appointment for your specific health issue. And my doctors are handpicked by me. They're trained by me, and they're my personal doctors. Every one of my doctors treats me. And if they don't treat me, they don't treat you. It's very simple. And if I don't trust them with my body and my neck and my nervous system, you're not going to see them either. So drjoe.com if you want to make an appointment. But you've got to be able to get the nutrients into the body and then also absorb it. So there's a relationship between mood and food. The food we eat impacts how we feel. A lot of foods naturally contain serotonin, but there are other nutrients in the body that help produce it, like tryptophan, we said, omega-3 fatty acids. Now, some foods like oats, nuts and seeds, plantains, pineapples, tomatoes, kiwis, they're good. They're high in serotonin, and they have the precursors to serotonin. Ashwagandha, which is an herb, can aid in stress reduction and help boost serotonin, by enhancing the nervous system function. Now, one of the supplements I take every single day is Dr. Joe's Adrenal Support. I can give you guys an advanced postgraduate lecture on the adrenal gland and how the adrenal gland produces hormones. And if you don't have enough, the raw materials, it's called a cortisol steal. The body uses those raw materials to produce cortisol, and it shuts down your production of progesterone and testosterone. And so it's important that the adrenal glands are taken really good care of. Now that I said that, I ask you a question. Do you know where the adrenal glands are? Do you know what they do? You may have never even heard it before. You might have heard adrenaline rush. But the adrenal glands, they look like walnuts, and they sit on top of the kidneys, about the size of a walnut. And they produce adrenaline, which is energy. They produce anti-inflammatories called prostaglandins. And then they also produce sex hormones. Testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, estradiol, estrone. There's 3 types of estrogen. Actually, there's 10 types of estrogen. But estrogen is just a general term. The 3 major ones are the ones that we usually talk about. They produce testosterone. They produce cortisol. So the adrenal glands are really important. And when it comes to stress, we stress out like crazy. And our adrenal glands just get overworked. So on our website, drjoe.com, one of the supplements I take every day is Dr. Joe's Adrenal Support. Because contrary to popular belief, my cherub demeanor is sometimes altered. And so I'm not always cherub-like. And sometimes I have a little stress in my life. And so the adrenal support is something I take every day as a prophylactic measure. But the minimum supplements you should be taking, of course, are Super Greens and Essential Source. They're 2 powders. They taste great. They're on the website, drjoe.com. I can't imagine why everyone is not taking Super Greens and Essential Source. I can't fathom it. We keep the price very affordable. They taste great. They're 2 powders. You just mix them up with some coconut milk, almond milk, water. It blows my mind that people aren't taking it. And so I really think you should be taking Super Greens and Essential Source. And if you're over 30 and you drink coffee and you have stress in your life, you should be taking adrenal support as well. And we talked about vitamin D for the winter as well. That's another one you should be taking. But we have adaptogens like ashwagandha, similar to ashwagandha, in the adrenal support, and that helps the adrenal glands work more efficiently. Foods to avoid if you want to keep your serotonin levels. Alcohol. It might give you a temporary serotonin boost. That's why you get drunk and enjoy it. But long-term is going to deplete your levels. Avoid foods with artificial sweeteners. They inhibit dopamine and serotonin production. I did a show on artificial sweeteners not long ago. If you use artificial sweeteners, I can negotiate with you on this. Stop using them. Now, you can use things like stevia. You can use Lohan. Those are all fine substitutes. They're not artificial sweeteners. But aspartame, sucralose, avoid those like the plague. Of the 7 deadly sins, the 7 foods I always say everybody should avoid, the worst of the 7 is artificial sweetener. And the 7 foods, if you don't know what they are, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Those are the 7 deadly sins. And if you go to our website, drjoe.com, type in 7 deadly sins, you can listen to a whole lecture I did out in California on that topic. But please, I'm begging you, cut out the artificial sweeteners. Because they mess with serotonin, mess with dopamine, they excite the brain, they burn out your brain cells. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. Number 1 side effect of aspartame, headaches. So if you have headaches, definitely cut that out. I can't do aspartame. I can't do monosodium glutamate either. Glutamic acid is very similar to aspartic acid. Monosodium glutamate, aspartame, aspartic, and glutamic acid. Instant headache. Caffeine gives me an instant headache too. So just avoid those if you can. We talked about digestion. You have to break down your proteins into amino acids to get the amino acids to produce tryptophan. You need amino acids for all of the neurotransmitters, but we're talking specifically about serotonin today. I'm not sure I'm going to get to the other ones. I may have to do a series of shows on neurotransmitters. And you know what, folks? This is postgraduate stuff. This is the stuff I teach doctors all over the world. And you guys get it. So I try to keep it simple so it doesn't get too confusing. But you guys are getting stuff that doctors take my classes and they pay me to get these classes so they can even renew their licenses. The information I have is oftentimes certified by the state boards, and doctors can renew their licenses by taking my seminars. You guys are getting it. How cool is that? Exercise is important. Exercise can boost your mood. Now, you don't have to work out for an hour. In fact, we do a test here in our office. It's called the Dutch test, the UTCH, and it's a urine test. And they take urine, you do urine samples throughout the day, send it off to the company. They send me back the results, and we can measure your hormone levels throughout the day. We can measure cortisol, testosterone, estrogen, estradiol, estrone, and how your body is processing these things. And if you're low in cortisol, you don't want to work out too hard. That would be counterproductive for you. If you're high in cortisol, you do want to work out pretty hard. And so it's important to know what works for you based on your body type and your hormone levels. So exercise is great. I like walking. It's really one of my favorite exercises, walking, hiking, because I have a traumatic brain injury and I have to be careful. If I hurt myself, I can get headaches for days. So I got to be careful what I do. And walking and swimming work great for me. Kayaking works for me too. But jogging, running, not for me. Doesn't work for me. Even heavy weightlifting doesn't work for me. So any of the exercises that you can do, yoga's great, can increase your serotonin levels. So physical exercise increases your mood and your brain function, and exercise can be effective in limiting negative tolls of stress. It helps burn up, if you would, your cortisol level. Now, the simplest, easiest thing you can do, because some of you don't like exercising. I'm not a big fan either. I like being out, but I don't think I want to go to the gym, is something called a cross crawl. This is an amazing thing. You can do it every hour, and it takes about 20 seconds. If you can give me 20 seconds of an hour, I can get you on an exercise protocol. So what you do is you stand up. You can set your timer at your desk. Stand up, and I want you to bring your right elbow to your left. Bring up your left knee and bring your right elbow to it. And then bring up your right knee and bring your left elbow to it. So you're marching, basically. So right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. Right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. Even if you're in a wheelchair and you have control of your arms, you can just do your right arm to your left, right elbow to your left knee, left elbow to your right knee. What this does is it physically stimulates the brain. Your brain is designed to be integrated, not segregated. What does that mean? Those are big words. Integrated means both halves of your brain, the right and left side, should be working together. Segregated means you're using one side of your brain more than the other. Most of us have our brain segregated. And we do that because we use one side of our body more than the other. We brush our teeth with our right hand. We zip our fly with our right hand. We work the mouse with our right hand. We start the car with our right hand. So most of us are stimulating, if you're right-handed, the left side of your brain, because the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. If you're left-handed, it's the right side of your brain. So by cross-crawling, and just Google cross-crawl if you don't understand what I'm saying, right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg, do that for 20 seconds an hour. Usually that's about 30. Your 30 cross-crawls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just do 20 seconds. If you could do 5 in 20 seconds, that's fine. What that's going to do is integrate the brain and have the right and left side of the brain talking to each other. And the brain becomes more efficient when it's integrated, not segregated. If you won't do anything else for me, do that. Get out of bed. Get out of bed, walk to the bathroom, cross crawl, right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. If you live with somebody, they'll think you're crazy, but that's okay. Let them think you're crazy. But if you just do the cross crawl for 30 seconds when you get out of bed, you'll be amazed how much more energy you have after a few days. 20 seconds, folks, 30 seconds, that's all I'm asking for. When you start doing that, the brain wakes up, works more efficiently. I get asked all the time, say, Dr. Joe, when you do your live shows, your live lectures, I may have 20, 30 live questions. No idea what the question is going to be. And they say, how did your brain do that? How are you able to process all that information? I take care of my brain. I give it the right nutrients, super green central source, nitric oxide, vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids. They're all on the website, drjoe.com in the store section. I give it cross-crawl integration. I get good sleep. I get chiropractic care, which is probably the most important thing of all to keep the nervous system working. And people are just blown away. I don't know if you're from Atlanta, if you know Clark Howard is, but when I first was brought onto radio and I was, discovered, my boss said to me, he says, you're the next Clark Howard. Nobody in all of radio in the country can do what Clark Howard does. Answer questions on the fly. He's funny. He's personable. He's self-deprecating. I've never met anyone who can do what Clark does except you. I thought that was really quite a compliment. So Clark's a friend of mine. I'm really honored by that. If you're not from Atlanta, it probably means nothing to you. But the brain works very well when you integrate the brain. And so do that. And if it doesn't work, so what? You spend 20 minutes looking like an idiot. But if it works, which it will, you'll be amazed. When I give lectures, long lectures, 2, 3, 4-hour lectures, every hour I have the audience stand up and cross crawl with me because I want to do it for myself and it'll look stupid by myself. So I have everybody do it. And then they pay attention better too. So exercise is great, but it doesn't have to be a crazy exercise. It could be something basic too. Getting a massage. Getting a massage contributes to the increase of dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. Why? Relaxing the muscles, but you're also having physical touch. Safe, legal, physical touch. So those rush of chemicals in your body can make you feel all relaxed. That post-massage bliss really is a thing because it affected the neurotransmitters. Massage is another great stress management tool, and it can be found not only to promote the release of serotonin, but also decrease that stress hormone called cortisol. It's often seen to be built up in people's bodies when they're under stress. We can do a cortisol test on you if you want to do just cortisol. I'd probably say do the whole Dutch test and get the whole hormone panel done, but we can do a saliva test just for cortisol. And you can find out if your cortisol is too high, you better do something about it. You're going to essentially fatigue your adrenal glands. And it's, again, stealing other nutrients, not produce chemicals to produce cortisol. So not a great place to be. Decreasing cortisol throughout your life can be one of the ways we can do it is skin-to-skin contact. That's one of the reasons we like massages. Different muscles are controlled by different nerves. So if I get my neck massaged, that's controlled by what's called the spinal accessory nerve. My trapezius muscle is controlled by something called the spinal accessory nerve. The spinal accessory nerve is what we call a parasympathetic nerve. If I lose you here, I'm sorry. Sympathetic nerve speeds you up. Parasympathetic nerve slow you down. The trapezius muscle is innervated or supplied by a parasympathetic nerve. So when you get your shoulders massaged, it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of the nervous system that calms you down. So the physical act of getting your trapezius muscle massaged changes the brain chemistry. Now I can get my leg massaged, and that feels good, but it's not innervated or supplied by a parasympathetic nerve, so it doesn't directly kick in my parasympathetic nervous system. And so that's one of the secrets of getting your neck massaged, why it feels so good. Probably useless information, but I'd like to share it with you. Pain can lower your serotonin levels. So if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, sciatica, numbness, tingling, weakness, headaches, that can affect your brain chemistry. So if you have pain, stop suffering. If I can tell you the most effective, least expensive treatment for pain, would you want to know about it? Of course you would. I would. Wait, most effective and least expensive? Yeah, I want that. How do I get that? It's chiropractic care. So if you'd like to make an appointment in our offices, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We would love the opportunity to sit down with you to see if you're a candidate for our treatment. So if you'd like to find out if you're a candidate, you can go to our website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right online. You can call us. We accept people with all insurances. It depends what your coverage is. So we accept their insurance. Depends if their insurance is going to cover what you need. But we verify all that for you. Car accidents, VA. If the VA refers you here, the VA pays for it. I love working with VA patients. We accept people from Ambetter, Medicare. So yeah, we accept almost all insurances. So if you don't have insurance, that's okay too. About 40% of our patients have no insurance, and we have very affordable treatments, and we even have payment plans for those treatments that are interest-free. So drjoe.com. If you're ever in a car accident, please, folks, if the car's damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way. Even if you don't have pain, you need to get checked out as quickly as possible. The longer you wait, the insurance company says, well, you weren't hurt. You didn't go to the doctor. Well, I didn't have a car. They don't care. Come see us as quickly as possible, drjoe.com. Stop suffering needlessly. So if you're ready to get well and stay well, hopefully we're going to be your last stop when it comes to getting well and staying well. Meditation can help brain function. I was trained to do transcendental meditation back in college. It's wonderful. It's not a cult. It's not some weirdness. It's not you have to face east and give up all your possessions. It's an exercise. It's just like going to the gym. It's an exercise for the mind. It's quick. It's easy. It's 20 minutes once or twice a day, preferably twice a day. Relieves stress, promotes better outlook in life, and it's been shown to help increase serotonin levels. Study out of Harvard looked at meditators' MRI images, found that increased neuron activity in the brain could beneficially affect synthesis of neurotransmitters like serotonin. Now, there's different types of meditation. I did transcendental meditation. But yeah, there's a lot of studies out there on brain function when you're meditating, which is really cool. It's a great tool to have. You're on a plane, you're bored, you're in a car, you're a passenger. Meditate for 20 minutes. It's really a neat thing to have. I know when I'm exhausted, 20 minutes of meditation for me is about 4 hours of sleep. I can't meditate at night. I did it the other day, as a matter of fact. I meditated at night with a friend of mine who's a new meditator, and she said, come meditate with me. And I did. I could not sleep that night. I was wide awake, and not coffee wide awake. I was just wide awake. Felt great. So that's another way we can affect the brain. We talked about positive thinking. Really important, folks, to think about the good things that happen. I know it sucks when life is miserable and everything's going wrong. Just think of 2 good things that happened that day. And just think of it quickly if you have to. Watch what happens. You'll be amazed. Listening to music is great. It can release serotonin and dopamine in your brain, and the serotonin stays around longer when you listen to music. So I love music trivia. I used to work in a vending machine company, and one of my jobs was pulling 45s out of this big library of 45s are a record. It's kind of like a disc for those of you who are younger. And so I got to know music really well because I'd have to pull out, I don't know, Higher and Higher or whatever it was, whatever song it was. So I got to know the music. But animal research indicates that listening to music specifically can release serotonin and help the dopamine levels in your brain as well. So pick the music that you like. It's fascinating that we seek out new music and try to seek out fulfillment in music, and there's a reason for it because it's actually beneficial to the brain. Either way, every sensory and perceptual experience we have is bound to a change. It's always going to change our brain chemistry. And that's why sometimes after a traumatic issue, maybe it's abuse, maybe it's physical abuse, maybe it's mental abuse, the brain changes. And that's why we need to change it back. And that's why so many counselors refer patients to us, because they realize that the counseling is great, but if the brain isn't able to accept the counseling, it's not going to work. And so, or not work as well. So we fix the digestive system to break proteins into amino acids, chiropractic care to relieve pain and open up the nerve and blood supply to the body, do a dietary protocol to make sure people are eating right and getting the right nutrients, supplements. Again, the minimum supplements would be at least Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, and in the winter, especially Dr. Joe's Vitamin D. I take omega-3 fatty acids as well to keep my brain working. I take adrenal support. That would probably be the starter kit if I had to give you a starter kit. All those are on the website, drjoe.com. Follow us on social media. What's my handle? At Dr. Joe Esposito. Please follow us on all platforms. If you're a podcast junkie, type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. And on your podcast service, we're out there doing that for you as well. We want to give you every possible thing that we can to help you get well and stay well. But most importantly, make an appointment to come see us. Stop suffering needlessly for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones. drjoe.com. Normally, the first visit is $712. We've reduced that to $299 for my listeners. Again, folks, drjoe.com. Catch you next week.